Hugh Hewitt. Brent Gardner is the Senior Vice President of Americans for Prosperity, longtime sponsor of the Hugh Hewitt Show. Great friends of the program. And in fact, I was with the Ohio director for AFP and then the Pennsylvania director for AFP last week at rallies in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Brent, good morning. How are you, and how do you feel about this election?
He's not there yet.
Oh, he's not? Are we trying to line him up?
Yes, but he's not there.
It's the shot. Okay. I got to tell you, I was out at the AFP state director conversation in Ohio and then went over to Pennsylvania and talked to Emily in Pennsylvania. And I just got to say, their organization in those states is magnificent. It's vast. And when both state directors we had, 1,000 people in Ohio and 600 people in Pennsylvania, full crowds in both places, and couldn't sell any more tickets. And when hey, Brent, how are you? Good. I was just praising your state directors in Ohio and Pennsylvania. They were magnificent people to work with.
That's awesome to hear. No, it's good to see you. I'm pretty excited. We've got a great team out there working.
No, I have to ruin your day. I've got to make you listen to Kamala Harris talking to Shannon Sharp about economics. And I need your response to this assessment. It takes about 2.5 minutes, and then we'll stay after the break a little bit and put it up on YouTube. Let's play for Brent. Cut number, what's the cut I'm looking for, guys? Cut number 23.
Would you want to touch on some specific things you would like to do to keep because the economy seems to be heading in the right direction, but the inflation, gas prices are extremely high, groceries are extremely high. This rent, I mean, it used to be when I was renting, they moved the rent up $40 a year. Now they moved it up $400.
So let's talk about that. I'm glad you raised that. So for example, groceries, yes, the prices are still too high. You know it, I know it.
Yeah.
Part of my plan is to deal with price gouging. I did it when I was Attorney General. I'm going to do it as president, which is these companies that will jack up the prices of groceries to take advantage of people in need, and in particular during a crisis, like what you see around the pandemic or Hurricane Helene.
Yes. Milton.
Right?
Yes.
Milton, right? So there's that. In terms of housing, first of all, we know that black families are 40% less likely to own their home. And we can go back to redlining. We can go back to policies that were by law or practice meant to not give black folks equal opportunity to home ownership, especially in certain neighborhoods. We can go back to what happened around the GI Bill.
Yeah.
And when all the great generation, we call them, came back, and there was federal policy to say, you all fought for our country. We're going to give you a boost around helping you buy homes. But those black servicemen, and it was mostly men, those black servicemen did not. So you had then a time when there was a boost it ended up being not for black service members. So part of my policy is to, one, create a fund so that we will give a $25,000 down payment to first-time homeowners to just help people get in the door. We will deal with the rent issue because part of what we're seeing in Atlanta, in places across our country, is these corporations are buying up all these properties. Which means then that they don't have to...
Okay, Brent, I have to stop. It goes on, but it's so much economic illiteracy in a condensed fashion, it makes my head hurt. What do you say to that?
Well, she said that Shannon knows it and that she knows it. The truth is the American people know it as well. Prices are high. They didn't start getting high yesterday. They've been high for the 3.5 years that she's been vice president. And at the end of the day, that's the reason why so many folks have looked at the 7 Senate races that we are focused on and the 44 House races. And they're saying we need people who aren't going to continue to support the same broken policies that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have supported. And you know what's even crazier, Hugh? At the end of this, her solution to it is to create another government program to spend more money, which will continue to inflate those prices. So economic illiteracy, you're right. And the good news is people have an opportunity to do something about it a week from today.
I want everyone to listen to Club Shay Shay so they realize she has no idea what she's talking about. Now let's talk about, I know the 7 Senate races. Of the 44 House races that AFP is involved in, how many are R seats that you're defending? How many are D seats you're trying to flip?
Yeah, I don't have that breakdown right in front of me, but I can tell you this, that the folks that we have got who are focused on are definitely the kind of folks who are going to be able to make a pretty significant difference, that are going to have a different vision for this country than what we've seen for the last 4 years.
Now, you've got Jeff Crank, who's been AFP's director in Colorado, I don't know, forever. I've known Jeff for 20 years, since his first run for Congress. How great is it that AFP is now sending people to Congress?
Well, I think it's great. And quite frankly, to have someone who's worked so closely with us, who we know has done so much to lead this country in the right direction by helping to mobilize concerned citizens to get them active, and now has an opportunity to go and take direct kinetic action in Congress. We're really excited for him and for so many of his colleagues who we think are going to have a great night a week from now.
Now, you know, I'm a parent of 3 and a grandparent of 6, and no one can get me to say my favorite child or my favorite grandchildren, because I love them all the same. I'm going to ask Brent after the break, and you have to go to YouTube to find out who he answered. Who's got the best state organization? You can think about that while I tell you. Go to americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. Get in the last week of the game. Make a difference. I'm Hugh Hewitt. I'll be right back. Brent, I am back now, and I posed the question to you on the live show. We'll put this on YouTube. You've got lots of great state organizations. Who's the best?
Man, like you said on the live show, I can't pick just one. If we look at some of the ones that are really just out there doing the great work, you've got Montana that's done more than 650,000 doors. A state like Ohio, wow, 850,000. Wisconsin, 650,000. And Pennsylvania, here in the next day or so, will cross 1 million doors. And all of that contributes to the more than 11 million voter contacts that AFP has made. So the reason I can't just pick one is not just because I don't want to pick my favorites, but if you look at the work that these state teams have done across the country, they've all done phenomenal work. And at the end of the day, I think the results will speak for themselves.
You should go to the Trump State Department, Brent, because that was very diplomatic. Would you explain what a door knock means for the benefit of the Steelers fans? And also, does anyone answer their door anymore? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, no, listen, we're talking and having great conversations with people across this country on doorsteps and in driveways. We're doing it on the phone. People are answering the phone. A lot of folks have questions, in particular in some of the races that we're focused in. Well, there's been a lot of attention at the top of the ticket. A big part of the last year has been helping people connect to who the folks are running in these 7 Senate races and these 44 House races. And there is honestly nothing better than a conversation where a citizen can engage someone with unique knowledge about the policies and understand why that might be something that's going to be important for them to step out and vote. And I'll tell you, we haven't seen this kind of excitement for people to participate in the process in years. We've had people for years who've done a great job, but I think people really understand that this election cycle is the most important of their lifetimes and that this country is at a crossroads. So on the doors, we're hearing from people. They're talking about gas and groceries. They're talking about the cost and how difficult it is to have a family today in America. They're talking about the challenges to their business. So in addition to trying to encourage people to get out and vote, we're hearing about the reasons why they want to engage. And for a grassroots organization like AFP, that's our bread and butter.
Last question. I am talking next hour with 3 of our longer shots. Hung Kao in Virginia, Nella Domenici in New Mexico, Sam Brown in Nevada. What do you think? Is the tide running so strong that it might carry in some of the people who are in very blue environments?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think for a lot of these candidates that have done a great job of identifying themselves to their communities and why it's important, I think they do have an opportunity. I'm cautious over the last several election cycles to talk about tides. We remember the comments about a red tide. It wasn't something that we necessarily saw coming together. I worry about nationwide narratives, but I do think there's an opportunity for people to get behind policies that are what push the tide. And at the end of the day, I think government spending, the cost of inflation, the challenges that people are feeling at their dinner tables, if people get on the right wave, I think there's an opportunity to ride that tide. And these issues have consistently, along with the challenges at the southern border, been the things that people have said are going to drive them to the polls. So I do think that there's opportunities for sure.
Thank you for coming on. Remember, America, americansforprosperity.org/volunteer, AmericansForProsperity.org/volunteer. Get in the game in the last week. Thank you, Brent.